And there we go. We are live. Today's show is going to be, here we go. Okay, another episode of Light on Conspiracies with Ole Dammegard. And Ole, today we're going to be joined by an exciting array of guests. People have been watching the show and noticing, sorry, there we go. I've been doing quite a bit of vamping the past few days, just getting everything organized for our new and exciting upgrades here at Crowdsource the Truth. Ole, today we're going to be talking about a possible link between 5G technology and the outbreak of the coronavirus. We're joined by Olle Johansson and Cody Snodgres. I apologize if I've mispronounced your name, Olle. I know you've been with us before. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine, thank you very much. And you pronounce my name pretty good, so you can call me whatever you want to. That's all right.
It's the same with me.
Excellent.
And of course, I would like to just introduce Olle Johansson, because he's not just anyone. He is a doctor with a very, very extensive background and one of the absolute pioneers when it comes to exposing and trying to get information out about wireless technology, cell phones, and the dangers of these things, because very few people, when he started going out, sounding the alarm, was talking about this, and this has put him in a lot of trouble over the years with problems with his career and withdrawn financial support and so on. So I really applaud him, and I think he's very, very important to bring out on the international stage, even though he is all over the place giving interviews and conferences. But I really want to be part of sharing his knowledge for the benefit of humanity, because it's very, very important what he knows.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you know, what we're doing that's a little bit different this time than the last time we had you on, Ole, is this is a YouTube preview to let everybody know that we're going to be doing a sponsor exclusive show on Patreon and Subscribestar just after this at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Olle, can you give us a little background on some of the research that you've done, and maybe give our viewers sort of a taste for what we're going to discuss about the relationship between 5G technology and the coronavirus outbreak?
Well, I've studied these questions the last 40 years, and I got into this area via the functional impairment or disability or handicap called electron hypersensitivity, but then soon it was expanded into other health as well as biological effects of a variety of different electromagnetic based installations, anything from power lines to today's cell phones, baby alarms, smart meters, tablets, and whatnot. And of course, very early we got interested in the effect on plants, bacteria, other animals, but of course also on human beings. And in human beings, we are talking about, for instance, relationships to cancer, to leakage of the blood-brain barrier, effects on fertility, effects on the immune responses. But probably I'm not the best guest to have aboard today, because I don't see any clear-cut relationship between coronavirus outbreak and the 5G. So maybe you need to talk to someone else about that. But of course, we can speculate. But, you know, when I scratch the surface on all the, and it's quite a number of publications already claiming such a relationship, and I ask for the official documentation, so far I have received nothing. So as a scientist, you know, I need to be very accurate and very kind of square-headed, and not leave all the rules and regulations governing controlled science, and I still lack it. But it is, of course, interesting to see that Wuhan in China has been one of the centers for the development and rollout of 5G in China. And maybe there could be a correlation. And for the coming hour, we can discuss that, of course.
Yeah, and certainly you're a great guest for us to have, because it's not a matter of having guests on who agree with a particular position. It's about finding the facts. And certainly I named the episode pretty carefully because I'm not sure if there is a connection between 5G and the coronavirus in terms of the biological or electromagnetic interaction of those things. But certainly we've been hearing in the news that the coronavirus is affecting every industry, and perhaps it's preventing the rollout of 5G. We've also got Cody Snodgres with us, and Cody's been doing a lot of research into both of these topics. Cody, anything to add?
Well, I agree totally with Ole. The science is not in yet, even on the coronavirus itself, much less the relationships that can be established with, the 5G fields, which are 30 to 300 gigahertz. They're billions of cycles per second. It's really high stuff. It's never been used before, but there has been some studies showing links to DNA single and double strand breaks when they're exposed to high field strengths, high intensity strengths of 5G, oxidative damage, disruption of cell metabolism, melatonin reduction, disruption of brain glucose metabolism, generation of stress proteins, and other things. And so when you look at the potential for a 5G very high frequency field to affect metabolic, cellular, neurological, and actual chemical processes inside a complex organism like a human being, there could be a relationship. It just, like Dr. Ole was just saying, it's not established. And what I would like to say about the coronavirus is, we talked about some of the stuff on the other show about the possibility of it being derived from the bat 13
right.
from Yunnan, China. And the question about all that ties into interferon production, because bats have been around a long time and their immune systems are blood suckers, and when they suck blood, they have a very advanced immune system with interferons, and they trigger the induction of a broad array of antiviral proteins, and so it helps protect the bats. And we did talk about how the 4 spikes on the coronavirus were found to be HIV. And so I doubt seriously that this coronavirus is a naturally mutated virus. My opinion is that it was made somewhere, genetically spliced or genetically engineered. Now, the relationship between a genetically engineered thing and the 5G fields is totally up in the air. We don't have the science yet to draw conclusions, although theoretically it's very possible for 5G fields to affect RNA of the in the interferons that are produced in the cells. RNA translation suppression and double-stranded RNA, the viral protein synthesis that occurs, that's critical for successful establishment of an infection like the coronavirus, and also then the shedding and the transmissibility of the virus. So it's possible that 5G fields could in some way affect all this, but the science, we simply don't know. It's a theoretical supposition.
Well, it's interesting because, Ole, it causes me to think about some of the things that we've been told by our friend Judith Very Baker, where she spoke about viruses that they were dealing with in her work at, was it Tulane? She was working for Alton Ochsner. She was bombarding viruses with radiation, right, to achieve some effect?
Yeah, it was the SV40 virus to get a bioweapon that was supposed to be used against Castro. And so she was very much involved in that in New Orleans.
Yeah. So bioweapon, that's the question. Ale, do we think that there is any validity in general, maybe not coronavirus, but can electromagnetic radiation affect viruses? And are you aware of any medical history where that's been used?
Well, I mean, I love you Americans because you have such an excellent saying. If you remember this old lady who always spoke out and asked, where's the beef? So as already said, you know, you need to see some hardcore replicated peer-review-based science being done and published and evaluated and replicated and evaluated and replicated and so on, you know. And today we just don't have it. But theoretically, from an hypothetical point of view, why not? I mean, anything is possible. And as we all know, we don't know what's actually going on inside of various types of industries, particularly not in the defense and attack military industry. We don't have any real insights into it. And maybe they are playing around with bacteria, viruses, and so on, with the aim to produce such a biologically based weapon. But at the same time, you know, I'm a very simple man. You know, I don't know very much, and I look upon the world in more simplistic terms. And if we then sort of let loose such an borderless biological marker, which won't stop at any geographical borders, what will then Walmart, IKEA, Volvo, and so on say? They will lose their customers. And, you know, they are generally very sensitive to that kind of interaction. And the world is run by money. And I doubt that any such biological weapon would be appraised within the fields of banking, finance, and general industry. They want to sell their products, and not least within the 5G industry. Wow, I just saw it some days ago here in Sweden, the head of Ericsson, which is central in the 5G arena, he was complaining because he felt that the rollout of 5G, for instance, in Sweden was just too slow, and it jeopardized all the money they already had spent on this development. So I don't think he wants anyone to kill off his customers.
Right. Well, that's the question. I mean, obviously the people, the technology companies that are behind 5G, they love it and they want it. But this is why, understand you correctly, you're saying you're unaware of any historic use of electromagnetic radiation with a specific intent of affecting a virus in some way.
Yes, no, I'm not aware of anything like that. But as I say again, I don't have the insight into secret military developments or whatever types of human endeavors that are not normally published in peer-review-based scientific journals. So anything is possible, but I don't base my life on rumors. I want to have the beef on the table.
Interesting. Right. Where's the beef is what it comes back to, of course. But with this suggestion of military technology, Cody, what do you think? Are you, Cody, aware of any use of electromagnetic radiation to affect a virus?
Well, we have examples of, you know, radiation being used on biological systems. One of them was a Soviet paper. I'm going to try to pronounce the word here. It's Varakabina. It's from the Kharkov Scientific Research Institute of Microbiology, Vaccines, and Sarah Emeny Michnikov. It was put out way back in 1977 as biological effect of millimeter radio waves. And what they did was, they took mice and they irradiated them for 15 minutes daily at the course of 60 days with a volume resonator. And they were working on with generators, and they were doing it in the frequency range of 5 to 8 millimeters at a density and power flow of about 1 milliwatt per square centimeter. And so I have the paper here. It's translated into English, and it gets quite complex. You have to know biology and chemistry and biophysics plus radionics technology. But there are some things that have been leaked out in the civilian world where they have led and points to this direction, but it's done mostly on complex systems. Like Los Alamos Laboratory down here in New Mexico, they did radionics testing on human beings for a while, and I have some of that data that's been declassified. But as far as viruses per se, you can only theoretically say, like Olle was saying just now, we don't have the data. You can only assume that if they were testing on these things on mice and humans back in the 70s and 80s, that it would be a natural extension of radionics technology to test high-frequency energy fields, microwave beams, DEW weapons, and so forth on viral applications. It certainly would be one way to mutate a virus in an unnatural fashion if you were a weapons developer, so that virus, when introduced into the target, would not have any natural immunity. Wow. And so it's very theoretically possible, but like he was saying, where's the beef?
Right, we just don't know. Well, we're about to make the transition over to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, patreon.com/lightonconspiracies, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth for our full episode, our sponsor-exclusive episode. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me here, and I look forward to seeing the three of you over there in just 5 minutes. Anything anybody wants to say real quickly before we end the broadcast?
Yes, thank you very much.
Excellent. We'll see you there, and thanks everybody for watching.